Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Talking with Counts podcast show. It's been a very long time since we put out an episode, but we're back, and I think we're back for good. You know, it's been a busy year, so many great things that have happened, and I couldn't be more thankful for the amount of stuff that I have done this year and just the journey that I have been on, all by God's grace. And speaking of grace, that is the title of this episode. Very important episode to me, very personal episode to me. And I've been gone for a while, but with that being said, we're back and we're gonna start dropping more episodes. Again, remember, these episodes only come when I have a message to say. So we're not gonna be dropping episodes every single day, every week. Like, it's whenever the message comes to me, that's when I want to put it out there. So I have a message at this point, so we're here to put it out and here to share that message. And I hope it continues to uplift anyone that it uplifts. I hope it continues to positively affect those that it positively affects. And I'm so gracious and I'm so thankful to have people who tune in and who listen to this podcast, because this just started with a dream and it's turned into this. And hopefully we continue to just take it to the next level, reaching heights that we had never expected to reach. But I'm so grateful, so gracious to have all of you in my corner, all of you who listen, who tell me that you love the messages that I am able to speak and bring towards y'all. I love y'all so much, and without y'all listening or tuning in or giving me the feedback, this wouldn't even be a thing. So I'm grateful that I'm able to have an effect on people, and I'm grateful that y'all tune in. I love y'all so much, and I'm sorry for the break. It's been a while, but again, it's just been a hectic year. Been doing so much. I posted an update video about what was going on in my life on YouTube, so if y'all haven't, go ahead and check that out. But I want to get into this cold open because I really like this cold open. The episode is called Grace, and again, thank you so much. And I love you with all my heart. Let's get into it. Grace. The one thing that I could learn to give myself more of. You're strong. You've overcome so many obstacles in this journey called life. Yet you still question your resolve. You can't do that anymore. You have to know that the boundaries you set for yourself are the boundaries you will never be able to cross. You limit yourself day in and day out, thinking you're not good enough, whether it's for another human being or being good enough to simply live the life that you want to live. This limitation holds you back, allowing the anxiety and the nerves of being the best version of yourself to seem unachievable. But you've done it countless times. You've overcome things mentally that you thought you never would have. You've made it through battles within yourself that seemed hopeless. You did that. So give yourself some credit and learn to trust the version of yourself that got you through that situation, not the version of yourself that was going through it. You're capable, you're smart, and most importantly, you're worth it. You've grown so much, and the growth will never stop. You can't let it. So if anything, just learn to take it easier on yourself. You deserve it. You've done an amazing job, and you will continue to do amazing things. Just remember, today's struggle is just tomorrow's afterthought. So give yourself some grace, because you earned it. So that was the cold open, and I hope you guys enjoyed that piece that I had wrote right there. Essentially, this all came to me by going through a situation. Well, even to go a little further back, grace has been like my big word of the year. It's been the word that I've been using the most throughout this year. It's been the mindset that I've been trying to indulge into the most this year. Just giving yourself grace and giving yourself the credit that you deserve. And so this episode was not supposed to be called Grace. It was supposed to be something completely different. And then going through a situation that I was going through, and just I found myself trying to latch on to something that I no longer had the want or desire to latch onto. That was the old version of me. That was the old part of Elijah. The piece of Elijah that went through a situation that was hurting so bad, and just trying to latch onto it again and trying to get it back or whatever the case is, and trying to go through this situation, and I'm realizing like, no, like this might not be for me. And that was an important piece of this journey that I've been going through, because that was it was so crazy in my head. I'm like, damn, I want this back so bad, or at least I thought I did. And now the fact that I'm kind of having it back, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel the same. But why doesn't it? And it's like, you gotta trust the version of yourself that got you out of that situation, not the version of yourself that was going through it. Because when I was going through it, I felt a completely different way. But that version of myself that got out of that situation, that got my mindset better, that has healed, that is just a completely different version of myself now than it was then, doesn't want the same things that version of myself wanted when I was going through it. And that was such a hard thing to understand. That was such a hard thing to grasp. And it's just giving myself the grace to know you're just different. You're a different person today than you were 2-3 years ago, whatever the case is. And you deserve to realize that, and you deserve to see that this version of yourself is a version of yourself that was molded through trials and tribulations. And it's hard. It's hard sometimes when you take a look back and you felt like you wanted something so bad, and then it's just like, now it's just like, I don't even feel that way. But it's okay. Just continue to give yourself the grace to know that you have bettered yourself. In whatever aspect it is. The version of you that stands today, this very day, is different than the version of you that was here a year ago. It could be the most minute detail, but it is different. You have learned, you have grown. Well, hopefully, because that's the goal that you should be taking on, to learn and to grow in this everyday life. But I trust that the version of you that stands here now is different than the version of you from before. And that's a good thing. And even when things seem like they're not getting better, you have to think back and like, where was I at a year ago? The most minute thing, remember, something has changed. And for something changing, you have to give yourself grace, because you're doing better than you were the day before. And even when we talk about giving grace to yourself, it could be, again, the smallest thing. And I just really want you guys to understand, I really want you to fathom that growth isn't determined on the big leaps you take. Sure, that's a piece of it. But growth is most importantly determined on the way your mindset changes, on the way you as a person operates, on the big things too. But am I growing inside? And that should be the goal for us each and every day, to grow inside and to want to do better and to get to a better spot than we were before. And just giving yourself the grace all along that journey to know that you have. And it's so important. For me, I'm such a critical person on myself. I'm so hard on myself. And it's like, even with the podcast, I'm like, dang, like I want this to be bigger. I want this to be better. I want to be in places that I never could have even fathomed being with this podcast. But that takes time, for one. And I'm building this up. I'm continually building this and being able to craft these ideas and craft these episodes. But I know now, the version of my podcast that stands before us now is 10 times better than the first episode I dropped back in 2020, 2021. Whatever year it was, I can't remember. I think it was 2021. But it's such a better podcast, production-wise. To even the messages that I'm able to put out and craft and take the time to. Before, I used to just try to rush episodes because I wanted to be able to be consistent and drop all the time. But I realized that this is so important to me, that this podcast hits me in places that I didn't expect it to, that it's a disservice to anyone who's listening if I put out an episode that isn't up to par. And that's something I realized. That's growth. I have to give myself grace, that at least now that I know that I'm able to put out these episodes, and when I put out an episode, there's at least somebody who's listening to it that's going to take something, that's going to learn from it, that can ultimately try to better themselves. And at the end of the day, that's what this is here for, is to help others better themselves. I continually, again, I'm so hypercritical on myself, no matter what it is. But I take a step back, and this version of myself that is here right now, even this year has been the most unpredictable year that I could have ever expected. I got a job that I love. Like, I went to Cleveland randomly with this job, like traveled there, went to Jersey. I'm about to go to Cleveland next week again. Like, there's so many unexpected things. Like, I have my own apartment now, you know? Like, this shit is all unexpected. I didn't come into this year expecting for this much things to happen. It's all unexpected. But giving myself the grace and knowing, like, no, like, you deserve it. You've worked your ass off. You've earned it. And allowing myself to just take a deep breath and, like, just feel everything for once, instead of just like putting so much pressure in, like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. No, like, take a step back and just give yourself that grace, because again, you have earned it. I have earned it, and that is so important to say. All the anxiety, all the stress, all the nerves that are continuing to be built up within yourself are the things that are destroying yourself. I'm not saying don't go through anxiety, because Lord knows I'm gonna still go through my anxiety. Lord knows I'm gonna still be nervous. Lord knows I'm still uncomfortable in certain situations. But being able to take a step back and conquer some of those things and get past some of those things, and then again taking that step back, looking within yourself and realizing, like, damn, like, look how far I've come. Look at where I'm at today versus where I was at the day before, and the day before that, and the day before that, and it's somewhere further than what you even expected to be. One thing that I do, and that I continue to try to do, is I set short-term goals. I heard an NFL player talking about this, and it's so crazy because I set these for myself before I heard him talking about it. But I set usually 2 to 3 short-term goals within a year. That's my short-term goals. And I try to accomplish each said goal within that year. And that's how I'm able to keep progress within myself and keep track of, like, what I want to do. And I've always been able to do it. It's like goals at a micro dosage, which just helps me, because, like, the long-term, like, thing is very hard. Like, sure, I have long-term goals, but they're more achievable when you set them off and smaller bite-sized goals that you could do for the year. So specifically for next year, my goals are move into a new apartment, start production on a short film, and continue to save for a new car for the following year. So, like, I have these bite-sized goals that are really achievable, that I can take a step back and be like, all right, I've done this. Once I've done that, you check it off the list. Once I've done the next one, you check it off the list, and so on and so forth. And it just allows you to, again, give yourself that grace to know that you've done it. So that's what this episode is really about, is just giving yourself the grace to know you have done so much more than you give yourself credit for. Because if y'all are like me, you don't do it enough. And it's so hard. And it's so bad too, because mentally we get stuck in this point where we're complacent in our head because we're actively doing, but mentally it feels like we're going nowhere. You gotta take those everyday wins. You gotta, like, the small wins are the most important wins. It's not always about the big wins. It's about those small wins. It's about how you reciprocate those small wins. It's about how you objectively feel about those small wins. Because once you achieve that, and once you realize that you have accomplished that small thing that you wanted to, take some weight off your shoulders. You're able to step back. You're able to be like, damn, like, I did that. And that's the goal. That's what I want everyone to realize, that you are worth everything you're working towards. You are worth being the best version of yourself. And along that way, it gets hard. Along that way, there are bumps in the roads. Absolutely. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat anything. This shit is hard. Figuring out life on a day-to-day basis is one of the hardest things we could do. There's so much pressure, so much anxiety, especially for us, we're not the younger generation, but, like, you know, I'm 25. Like, this shit is figuring this out is so hard. One of the biggest things for me right now is I have an apartment all to myself. I live here by myself. The hardest part for me is, like, I didn't feel like I got keys. Walked into an apartment complex, got keys. Like, my mom just moved out into a new apartment. You know what I'm saying? Love that for her. I'm so happy, so proud of her. But for me, it's like, I feel like I didn't earn this. Granted, I'm paying all my own bills. I'm doing everything on my own. Again, give myself the grace for that. But until I get my new apartment, I don't think I'll truly feel at home. Why do I feel like that though? Because absolutely, I'm working 2 jobs. I'm busting my ass. I'm creating content. I'm trying to better myself in a capacity each and every day. And yet I still feel underwhelmed. I still feel like I'm not as accomplished as the next person. And that is a big thing for a lot of people that I know, even for myself, is sometimes we tend to judge our success based upon somebody else's success, based upon where somebody else is. And I've seen Marlon Wayans talking about this, and it's not verbatim what I'm about to quote, but he said something to the extent of, maybe it wasn't your time to win. God didn't want that for you right now. But when it is your time and when God does want that for you, you will win. And that's such a strong quote, because the episode is called Grace. And I haven't even talked about the God and the faith aspect into this. This whole year, I've been trying to grow my relationship closer to God. Like, that's just something I've been doing. I've been praying a lot more. I've been feeling convicted of certain things. And just trying to grow my personal relationship with God. And with the grace that He continues to give down to me, and the prayers that I continue to send on up, I feel like this is all, like, everything that's going on in my life is what is being achieved because of Him. Like, I'm putting these prayers up and things are happening. It's crazy, and this might be a little testimony for y'all. And I know I really don't talk about faith and religion on this podcast ever, but it's very important to me because this is crazy. But before I got the job I'm working now, I was praying, absolutely praying for a job with substance, for a job that mattered, for something that I could go in and do and I feel accomplished at the end of the day, because I could have made someone's day. I could have set someone up for success. I could have changed someone's life. And I was praying for that. I didn't want to work retail anymore. I didn't want to do anything that didn't serve others. And then boom, this job falls into my lap. And I'm doing a job that I absolutely love. I get to affect the lives of kids on a daily basis for a positive impact, and that means so much to me, because I know growing up in the type of environment I grew up in, I needed that positive impact. I needed people who were positive role models or positive influences to come in, to motivate, to help, to hype me up, and I didn't have that. There was a severe lack of that. So the fact that I was continuing to pray for a job with substance, I was continuing to pray for something that mattered, and then, boom, it happens. It's insane. It's so insane to think that just praying and having faith in the man upstairs will help you achieve the things that you want to achieve. And that's also important to me. And I try to keep these episodes a little shorter. This one is going over. We're almost at 20 minutes now, so I'm gonna kind of wrap this up. The most important thing, if you have learned anything throughout this episode, if you have heard something from it and taken anything from it, just to take it easier on yourself and give yourself the grace that you deserve. It's as simple as that. Give yourself the grace that you have worked towards. Take a look back where you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. How much further have you grown from then? Has your mindset changed since then? Because I know mine sure as hell has, on so many topics that we can get into at another point, but my mind has drastically grown in such a mature way. There's, like, the way that I think now, I would have never thought this way years ago. So I'm so proud of myself for that, giving myself the grace, because you have done it. But again, most importantly, the big highlight of this episode is this one quote made by me. This is my quote. Didn't get it from nobody else. I'm so proud of myself for coming up with this, because it's gas. When I first said it, I was like, damn, this is a bar. But the quote is, again, to trust the version of yourself that got you through this situation, not the version of yourself that was going through it. I love y'all so much. Thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Talking with Counts podcast show. And hey, just continue to give yourself grace. You've earned it. I love y'all so much. And hey, until next time, Counts out.